Hey folks, welcome to the workshop. Today we're going to be making an extension for the table saw, for the table saw fence. I found a bit of form ply the other day that'll work perfectly. Chopped up a couple of bits of pallet wood to make the jig and slapped it together with screws, real quick and dirty. So, why the heck would you need a extension for your table saw fence? I was watching a video from Dainsy on the Dana Made channel the other day, and yeah, links to his channel down below. He's got a lot of cool stuff. Makes a lot of cool stuff out of pallets and stuff. So check that out. Do yourself a favor. But he was talking about his fence extension on his table saw, and I'm like, what would you need that for? I've never come across a situation where I might need a longer fence sticking out the front because the blade is right next to the fence and, you know, all good. But what happens is if you're using a jig, like a jointing jig, and the stock that you have on it is longer than the jig is. So my jointing jig's 1.2 meters. When I was trying to mill the stock for these guys, which are 1.5 meters, you've got a bit hanging over the end, like at the front end or the back end, and without an extension, you can't get that to ride cleanly up against the fence. It wants to pivot either at the front or the back, depending on how you've got the jig set up, or both. So yeah, I made this fence extension that we're going to look at now to solve that problem. So yeah, if you're milling long stock with a shortish jig, then maybe this is for you. And yeah, let's get into making it. The first job is to select a couple of boards from the pallet wood stack and put a nice straight edge on with my edge jointing jig. I guess normally if I was making something a bit nicer, I'd probably sand those boards first and run them through the planer just to make them a bit tidy. But yeah, in this case, just rip one edge off and job done. To get the width of the first board, let's just measure the height of the existing fence and run one off at that width. Then we're going to lay that piece against the fence and measure all the way across the full width to get the size of the next board. But it doesn't really matter what size your existing fence is, just use those measurements and you'll be good to go. And as always, spend an inordinate amount of time marking things up. Yeah, just making a few pencil marks on the board so I know where to put some screws in, and then from there just drill some countersunk holes and put some decking screws in to hold the bits together. Just learning a bit of tricky camera work, so you just have to excuse these videos a bit early on as I'm figuring out how the software works, ways to sort of zoom a camera in and out and change the angle, change the view, I guess, from a shot taken with an iPhone on a tripod. It's cool what you can do, but yeah, probably a lot of this stuff's a bit unnecessary. I've left it in just so that I can play with the footage. We'll get more entertaining, promise. This thing was really a bit of a pain to clamp up. Next time, if I did it again, I would just sit the pieces on top of the existing fence and drill and screw them while it was attached. I think this way it worked fine, but it was a bit awkward and yeah, more difficult than it needed to be. I just put a couple of screws in for the vertical piece. Again, should have just taken it over to the fence and done it there. I don't know why the dog likes to sit up there. You'd think she'd have something better to do with her life, but he sits up there and stares in the window. It's quite distracting sometimes. I'm going to test this jig out using the big 1.5 meter chunk of stock that I made. When I was making this video, I was actually not working on the extension fence. I was working on a planter box, and yeah, the video of the extension fence and making of that is kind of incidental. So that's what I really wanted to do. The first time I tried to put an edge on that, it twisted as it went through the saw and took a bit of a gouge out of the side of it. So that's why I made the fence here today. So there we go. That's my fence extension in all its glory. Basically just a U with a bit of form ply on the outside to give it a nice smooth edge on this side. Basically all that does is slot over the top of the existing fence. See if I can do that one-handed. So it fits nice and snug on there. Maybe better from this side, but it's persisting down out there. So yeah, just basically allows me to extend the fence further from the front of the table. So here's the jig and the bit of stock that I had to mill down, or the end result. The stock was like, you know, chunky. I was just trying to take the edge off it and make a nice straight edge on that side. But you can see that it sticks right out the front. So what happens is when you're trying to feed that into the saw, at this point you've got wood connecting the blade, but the fence has only got that tiny little bit there. Very easy to pivot, hard to make it feed in straight. So yeah, that's what the fence extension is for. And I'll put that on and show you the difference now. With the fence extension on, you can see there's the edge of the table and the extension is right out to there. If I pull this back, when I'm feeding this in here, instead of just having that tiny little bit in the corner, I've got, you know, a good, you know, 500 mil as the piece connects the blade. So it just makes it much easier to make sure you've got a nice parallel feed all the way through. So yeah, that's the purpose it serves. Down the track, I can see adding some bits and bobs to this side so I can do some vertical panel milling and stuff like that. And also I'll add some sliding panels on this side, so I can put that over the mouth of the router table, and that'll be cool. But yeah, it's a nice little job. Took a couple hours maybe, and yeah, all good. So yeah, if you want to make one for yourself, if you're doing this kind of thing, highly recommend, and really easy to do. Cheers, guys.